The plot had been empty for nearly 20 years, which was exactly why the HOA thought nobody would care what happened to it. My father bought the land when I was still in college. It wasn't much to look at then. Just 2 acres of grass, weeds, and a few scattered trees sitting behind the main road of what later became a huge residential development. My father always told me that one day we would build something there. Maybe a small house, maybe a workshop, maybe simply keep it as an investment for the family. He died before we ever decided. The property passed to me. I kept paying the taxes. I kept the insurance active. I visited the plot several times a year. I never built anything. That apparently made the land look abandoned. The first warning came in the mail. Notice of community property maintenance. I opened it at my kitchen table. The HOA claimed my vacant plot was being treated as an unmaintained common area parcel. I called the HOA office. The receptionist told me the association believed the plot had been incorporated into community open space. I asked how. She said the records showed it as part of a planned park. I laughed. My deed says otherwise. She told me to speak with the HOA board. The board president, Gregory Hale, was waiting for me at the next meeting. He didn't seem concerned. We've been using that land conceptually as part of the park plan for years, he said. Conceptually? Yes. You can't own property conceptually. Several people laughed. Gregory didn't. He said the developer's original master plan showed the land as community recreation space. I asked him whether the developer ever purchased it. He said the HOA had rights associated with the development. I asked him to show me. He couldn't. Instead, he produced a color map. My property was shaded green. This is our community park. I stood up. No, it's my property. Gregory told me the board would investigate. 2 weeks later, workers appeared. They cut down several trees. They placed stakes along the perimeter. Then they began leveling part of the land. I drove over immediately. A bulldozer was sitting in the middle of my plot. I stepped out of my truck. The operator said he had orders from the HOA. I called the sheriff. Before the deputy arrived, Gregory showed up. He told me the HOA had authority to perform maintenance. I pointed at the bulldozer. Maintenance? He said the land had become an unofficial community area. The deputy arrived. He looked at both sides. This is a civil property dispute, he said. He advised the workers to stop until ownership could be clarified. The bulldozer left. I thought that would scare the HOA. It didn't. Instead, they became more aggressive. They sent me an invoice for the work they had performed. Then they sent another letter demanding that I sign an easement. I refused. My attorney told me not to sign anything. Then we ordered a new survey. The surveyor, Thomas Avery, arrived on a Monday morning. He studied the deed. He studied the county parcel map. He examined the HOA documents. Then he walked the property. After several hours, he returned to me. There's a problem. What kind? Your deed calls for a monument. What does that mean? A physical boundary marker. Where is it? That's what I'm trying to find. He spent 2 days searching. Nothing. The HOA had removed several old trees. Some portions of the land had been graded. The original landscape had changed. Thomas believed the marker might still exist. He brought in older survey records. One document showed a stone marker approximately 30 feet from the creek. We searched again. Thomas eventually found disturbed soil beneath a pile of rocks. He started digging. After nearly 20 minutes, his shovel struck something solid. He cleared away the dirt. A rectangular concrete marker emerged. There was an old survey number stamped into the top. Thomas stared at it. This is it. He took measurements. Then he connected the marker to 2 other recorded points. The result was astonishing. The HOA's park boundary was wrong. Their proposed park extended onto my property by nearly half an acre. But that wasn't even the worst part. The marker showed that the HOA had also placed several stakes beyond the true community boundary. The entire area they planned to develop wasn't theirs. I asked Thomas whether the marker could be disputed. He shook his head. It's exactly where the old records say it should be. We obtained aerial photographs from the county. One older photograph showed the marker area before the subdivision was developed. Then we found a construction survey. It showed the correct boundary. The developer knew where the line was. The HOA knew where the line was. Yet the later community map moved it. My attorney filed a formal claim. The HOA responded by accusing me of obstructing a public benefit. They said the park would serve hundreds of families. My attorney answered with one sentence. A public benefit cannot be created by taking private property. The board called an emergency meeting. More than 50 residents attended. Gregory told everyone that I was refusing to cooperate. I asked him to show the original deed. He couldn't. I asked him to show a transfer document. He couldn't. I asked him to show a recorded easement. He couldn't. Then Thomas presented the survey. The room became quiet. He showed the old boundary marker. He showed the developer's original survey. He showed the current HOA map. The difference was obvious. One board member asked why the HOA map was different. Gregory said it might have been a drafting error. My attorney looked at him. A drafting error that moves a property line? Gregory had no answer. Then another surprise appeared. A retired employee of the development company had kept old records. He contacted my attorney after hearing about the dispute. He said the original developer had specifically excluded my property from the community. The developer had tried to purchase the plot years earlier. My father had refused. That explained everything. The developer knew they didn't own it. The HOA's later assumption was not based on ownership. It was based on a mistake that had grown into a belief. The board eventually agreed to stop all work. They removed their equipment. They restored the damaged portion of my land. They paid for the survey costs. And they signed a legal acknowledgement that the plot was privately owned. I eventually decided what to do with the property. I didn't sell it. I didn't build a house. Instead, I fenced it properly and planted trees. The same people who once called the land abandoned later watched those trees grow. A few years after the dispute, the HOA built its park on a different parcel. It was smaller than the original plan. But it was theirs. My plot remained mine. The most ironic part was that the HOA could have avoided everything. All they had to do was check the county records. All they had to do was order a survey. All they had to do was ask. Instead, they looked at an old map, assumed the green area belonged to them, and began acting as if ownership could be created through confidence. But land doesn't work that way. A vacant property is not abandoned simply because nobody lives on it. A quiet property is not public property. And an HOA map is not a deed. The missing boundary marker had been buried for decades. The HOA thought it had disappeared. It hadn't. It was simply waiting underground for someone to look for it. And when the surveyor found it, the entire HOA park project collapsed in a single afternoon.